Hello everyone, good afternoon. Am I audible to all of you? Okay, I hope am I audible to all of you guys? Okay, so let's start with our session. So we are continuing with our end-to-end object detection project implementation series. So in previous session, actually, we saw like how we can collect our own data and how we can perform the data annotation on top of it and how we can prepare the data, okay, for the training. Even we already saw the notebook experiment. So everything was working fine. Now from this session itself, actually I'm going to start with the modular coding implementation. So here I'm going to write each and every component separately. Let's say there I was downloading the data, okay, directly from the link, and I was using that particular data, like you can say I was training the model, I was evaluating the model, okay. But now what I need to do, I need to separate out these are the component one by one, because whenever you are building these kinds of end-to-end projects, okay, you have to create something called pipeline. And to create the pipeline, actually you have to separate out your component, okay. So today we'll be writing one particular component called data ingestion. So here we'll be learning how we can ingest the data from different platform, okay. In this case, actually you can use S3 bucket. If you don't want to use S3 bucket, let's say for S3 bucket you have to pay for, right? Let's say you don't have the account. So in case, actually what you can do, I will also show you the alternative way to do it. You can also ingest the data from the Google Drive. You can also ingest the data from the GitHub, okay. So there are so many way you can do it. And let me show you, if you want to learn like how to ingest the data from the S3 bucket. So we already took one particular series actually on this particular project. So here is the project, guys, okay, deep learning end-to-end projects. So there we already showed you how we can ingest the data from the S3 bucket itself. Okay, so you can refer that particular code and you can write your component, okay, as it is. But I will also show you some alternative way, like how we can ingest the data from the GitHub and how we can ingest the data from the Google Drive itself, okay. Both I'll tell you. Now before starting with the session, guys, first of all let me show you all the resources has been updated in your dashboard. So how to find a dashboard, just go to our website, and here you will get one option called community programs, okay. Now click on the community programs, and here you will get my course actually, which is nothing but end-to-end object detection project. Now just click on this particular course, and here make sure you have enrolled for this particular course because this is completely free. Now let me just log in with my account and I'll show you the dashboard. So yes, now if I go to the courses, now this is my dashboard. Now here all the resources has been updated. See, till day 3 we have completed. And if I go to, let's say, day 3, and if I go to the resources, see, resources also updated here. And if you don't know, all the code actually I'm committing in this particular repository. So this is the URL I'm sharing in the chat. You can clone this particular repository and you can use it as it is. Okay, fine. Now let me just write down the agenda. What are the things we're gonna cover? Okay. So in this particular session, we're learning something called data ingestion component. Data, data ingestion component. Data ingestion component. Okay. Now, what is data ingestion component? Data ingestion is nothing but you have to get the data. Okay, you have to get the data like inside your project, and after that, actually, will be performing all the steps. Let's say you can perform data validation, you can perform transformation, you can perform model training, because unless and until you don't have the data, so these are the component actually you can perform. Okay, so for this is very much important component called data ingestion. First of all, we need to get the data from one particular URL. So it can be, let's say, any kinds of URL. The data should be present inside GitHub, okay, inside GitHub, or let's say it is present inside something called Google Drive, okay, G Drive, okay, or let's say it is present inside my S3 bucket, okay, S3 bucket, because here we are using something called image dataset, okay. Image dataset I can't store inside the database. Okay, inside the database, that means the MongoDB, MySQL. Here I can't store the image data, right? For this I have to use some storage service. Okay, or else what you can do, you can use some vector db, there you can also store, but again it's not recommended because here we are performing object detection task. So your image format should be raw. Okay, it should not be as an embedding format. So that is why you have to use some storage service. So I think in GitHub we can create a repository, there we can store our file. Okay, but it has some limitation. So if you have less amount of image, or let's say this image size is less, or let's say your file size is less, at that time you can push that particular file inside the GitHub. Okay, or let's say if you're having like more than, let's say, 1 GB 2 GB file, at a time GitHub won't be working. Okay, GitHub will tell you you have a huge amount of file, I can't actually push it in my repository. So at that time you have to choose some alternative way. Now that time actually you can go with Google Drive, or you can go with S3 bucket, but this one is actually paid one. So you should have one paid account, AWS paid account, then actually you can access this 3 bucket. Okay, but let's say you don't want to spend money. Okay, you want to ingest the data, use it with the help of free services. At that time what you can do, you can use this Google Drive, because we know that Google Drive by default will give you some of the uh, free space. Okay, in that particular free space you can easily store uh, 3 to 4 GB of data. It's completely fine. Okay, so today I'll show you both options. Like I'll show you this particular GitHub as well as the G drive on. And if you want to learn the S3 bucket one, you can refer that particular community series. Okay, deep learning end-to-end project. The first session, if you watch it, okay, you will get the idea. So here, if I show you deep learning project, I think, yeah, see, data ingestion with the help of S3 bucket. Okay, so this is the first session of this series. Okay. Now, in this particular session, what I'm going to do, I have designed this project. I was reading the data from the my GitHub repository, because you saw that my file size is less. That's why. And I'll also show you the G drive one. Let's say if you are having more data at that time, what you can do. First of all, let me show you the flowchart I have created for this particular component. So this is the flowchart, guys. So data ingestion flowchart. I'll give this particular flowchart in the GitHub, so that actually you can also get it. See, this is the simple flowchart I have created. So first of all, uh, what you need to do, you need to create that particular component, and to create this particular component you should have some of the configuration. Okay, you should have some of the configuration on constant. What is constant, what is configuration? Let's try to discuss. So constant is nothing but it's just a constant variable. Let's say you want to create a folder name, or let's say you have some file name. So these are the things actually you will be mentioning inside a constant variable. Okay, and that variable you will be passing inside the configuration. Okay, I'll tell you whenever we'll be writing this particular code, at the time it would be clear. As of now, just try to think about, you have to write some of the configuration file. That configuration file will return, these are the path. Okay, one by one, all the variable you are defining, it will return one by one. Okay, so that you can use that particular configuration, or let's say these are the path and variable inside your component. The component you will be writing here in this particular component, we can call it as data ingestion component. Okay, and this data ingestion component, what it will do, it will ingest the data from some particular cloud platform, or let's say from particular URL. So here actually we are getting the data from the GitHub itself. So here you can replace anything. You can either use S3 bucket, you can either use Google Drive, you can either use some any other services. No issue with that. Okay, but I have added GitHub because I am having very less amount of data, and I can push my data inside my GitHub. That's why I will be using GitHub in this particular project. Okay, and this is completely free. You don't need to pay anything. Now inside my GitHub, I think you saw that I have my sign language data.zip file. Let me show you again. So if I go to my GitHub, let me go to my GitHub and let me show you the data. This data I already updated. I think you saw that in my previous session. How to update it inside the GitHub, I think I already showed you. So here if I search for that repository, so I have one repository. So this is the repository, and here is the data I'm having. Sign language data.zip. See, this is the data. Okay, this is the data. So I'll get this particular link. I'll get this particular data link. Now see, this is the complete data link. Now from this particular link I can download my data. Okay, with the help of some Python package I can do it. So that is what actually I have explained here. I will get the data from the GitHub, and that is nothing but my sign language underscore data.zip file. After downloading it, what I need to do, I need to unzip that particular file, because inside that particular zip file I'm having my images and annotation file, and also I'm having my data.yml file. I think you already know what is train file, what is test folder, and what is data.yml file. Inside train, what you will have the images and labels, right? So these are the thing I've already showed you how to generate it and what is the use of it, okay, inside our object detection project. Got it? So that is why actually we'll be creating a folder called feature store. Inside feature store, we'll be unzipping these are the files and folders. Okay. After that, I'll return the artifact. Okay. What is the artifact? Artifact is nothing but it's just a return type of a component. Let's say here you are writing this data ingestion component. So after running this data ingestion component, what this data ingestion will return for the next component? Okay, so it will return the data path, because let's say I want to do data validation in the next component. So to do the data validation, what I need the data from my previous component, because previous component will download the data in my local machine. It will unzip that particular data. Okay, then it will return that path, like where it has unzipped that particular data. Okay, it will return that particular path, and I will read that particular path, and I will do that data validation stage. Okay, so that's how actually we have to define also return type of a component. Okay, and we call it as artifact. Okay, yeah, artifact entity, we call it as artifact entity. I'll tell you how to write the artifact entity now, and it will return your data file, data zip file path and feature store file path. Both it will return one by one. Okay, so that I can get the data location and I can do the further processing and all. Fine. Okay, so this is a simple flowchart. Now we have to write a code on top of it, because if we are having this kinds of flowchart ready, now writing code would be very much easy for you. So you just need to like see this particular flowchart, what you have to write. Okay, based on that you can easily write the code. Okay, so first of all try to create this kinds of flowchart, then after that start writing the code. Okay, now let's start writing our code. So here what I can do, I think I already showed you some of the experiment here, how to collect the images and all. So let me just yeah, now here what I need to do, guys, first of all uh, I'll show you like how we can ingest the data from the GitHub itself. Okay, so let's write the code for this. So here, first of all, let me write down the workflow of this particular project. Like here, see, if you see, I have lots of files and folder available. Now one question would be in your mind, which file I need to change first, which file I need to change last, because here I can see so many of files and folder. Now I don't know which particular file I have to change very first time and which particular file I need to change very last time, right? So this kinds of question you are having right now in your mind. So for this you can define one workflows. Okay, so let me just write down the workflows. So here I can write all the workflows one by one. Workflows. Okay, workflows. So inside workflows, so first of all, you have to update something called this particular constant. Okay, constant file. So let me just write down. I have to update this constant folder. Now after that, inside constant, see you have one training constant. Okay, see this in underscore init.py. So you have to update this particular file at the very first. Okay, and which is nothing but these are the constant variable only. These are the constant variable only. Okay, so you have to write that particular code at the very first. Then after constant you have to write the code for the entity. Okay, so inside entity you are having two more file called config entity. Let me just write down config. Okay, config underscore entity. Okay, then after config entity you have to write something called artifact entity. Artifact, okay, underscore entity. Okay, so here if you see, this is the config entity. So this is the config entity, and this component will return something. This is called artifact entity. Okay, so these two things you have to write. Then once you have written this config and artifact entity, you have to write your main component. Okay, so now if I go open my component, okay, component folder. Now inside that actually you can see, inside this particular component you can see you are having different things. Actually you are having data ingestion, data validation, model pusher, and model trainer. So first of all we are performing something called this data ingestion one. So I'll be updating the component components. Okay, components. So once component is updated, that means this component is updated. So this component will ingest the data and it will unzip the data. Okay. Then I need to update the pipeline because pipeline will trigger everything. So here I am having the training pipeline one. So here I can write, I need to update my pipeline because pipeline would be my triggering point. So here I will be managing which component will first which component will run first and which component will run last. Okay, so let's say in this case I want to run this particular data ingestion component at the very first because it will ingest the data at the very first. After that I will do the validation. Okay, I will do the validation. As you can see, I will do the validation. After that I will train the model, and after that I will push the model to the S3 bucket. Okay, so these are the step by step component. Now how to manage these are the components step by step? I'll be managing this thing inside the pipeline because pipeline is nothing but, see, pipeline is nothing but it's just a flow. Okay, it's just a flow of execution. So first of all it will run your data ingestion. Okay, first of all it will run the data ingestion. So after data ingestion it will go to the data validation. Okay, and if data validation runs successfully it will go to the next component, which is nothing but your model trainer model trainer. Okay, then once model trainer is running successfully it will go to the model pusher. Okay, model pusher. So now here you can see it's following one step. Okay, first of all it is running data ingestion. If data ingestion running successfully it will going to the data validation. If data validation is running successfully it will go to the model trainer. If model trainer is working fine then it will go to the model pusher. That means you are uh, following one step. Okay, step of the execution. That execution you have to mention inside the pipeline. Okay, all the function one by one. First of all you have to write the data ingestion function, then data validation, model trainer, model pusher. Okay, and inside an endpoint you will be calling all the things together. Okay, so that is what pipeline I need to update. Once pipeline is updated I need to update my main endpoint. Okay, so in this case my endpoint is nothing but my app.py. Okay, because you will be running the app.py and your application will start. Okay, so this is the simple workflow of my project. Now by referring this particular workflow I need to write the code. So first of all, let's update the constant. So this is the constant, guys. So now what I will do, first of all, let's open the constant. So constant, what you will get, it is available inside sign language. And then there is a constant folder. You can see constant. Inside that you have something called training pipeline. Now open this one, and this is the constructor file. Okay, just open this particular file. Now here you have to mention your constant. Now I have already written the constant for you. So let me show you. First of all, I'll be defining the data ingestion constant. Okay, so this is the data ingestion constant, guys. Let me show you. See, this is the data ingestion constant. So here I'm defining the artifact directory because once your component will execute it, okay, it will ingest the data from my GitHub, right? And it will save inside my local folder. That means inside my local machine. And I'm not like I'm not willing to save these are the data inside my root project directory. So what I will do, I'll create a folder called artifact. Okay, inside that particular artifact folder, I'll save my data. Okay, again, I'm creating another folder called data ingestion. Okay, inside data ingestion, it will download that particular zip file, and inside feature store, I'll be doing the unzip operation. Okay, so these are the variable, or let's say these are the folder name and file name I want. That's why I have written inside this particular constant variable. Okay, and this is the data download URL. So if you see, this is the same URL I've just copy pasted in my GitHub. So same URL I just copied. Okay, as you can see, this is the same URL I just copied. I just pasted it here. Okay, so that it will refer this particular URL, and from here it will download the data inside my artifact folder. Okay, and we can call it as constant. Why we are calling as constant? Let's say in future I want to change something. Okay, in future I want to change some. Let's say I want to change this artifact to any other folder name. So that time what will happen, I don't need to open my code again and again. Okay, all the code I don't need to open. I'll only open this particular training pipeline, that means this constant file. Okay, and here I'll change this particular folder name and it will reflect inside my every code. Okay, I'm not supposed to change these are the variable name one by one. Okay, I'll only change the value and it will reflect inside my all the code. So that is why we call it as constant, and we write this thing as a separate. Got it? And that is called actually modular coding. Okay, so you are writing a template kinds of code and you are using that particular code, okay, as it is, and we are also calling as reusability of the code. Fine. Okay, now let me just change the view once. Now I think everything is visible. Now guys, I have updated the constant. Now next thing I need to update this config entity. Okay, now let's update this particular config entity. So to update the config entity, so here you have this particular config entity inside this entity folder. Now open this particular config entity. Now here I have to write the entity. So as I already told you, entity is nothing but it's just a configuration. Okay, it's just a configuration. Basically it will return, these are the variable, okay, as a path. Okay, as a path. So how to define this thing? So I have already written the code, so let me show you. So this is the data ingestion config. This is the data ingestion config. Let me show you. So here is the data ingestion config. So here first of all I'm importing some of the library. That means data class. I will tell you what is data class, why I'm importing it. Then date time, then sign language constant, training pipeline. I'm importing everything. Okay, whatever I written here as a constant variable, I'm importing everything from my constant itself. That's why I've given a star. Now the first thing what I'm doing, I'm just creating a timestamp folder. Okay, inside this artifact. Okay, inside this artifact, inside the artifact, I'm going to create a timestamp folder because let's say in every execution it will create a timestamp folder. Inside that it will save my artifact. Okay, instead of replacing the same file again and again, I can create a timestamp. Okay, and inside that I can save my artifact. So for this, actually, I'm creating this particular timestamp folder. Now here I've written one class, data class. See, data class is nothing but it's just a class only. Okay, it's not a Python actual class. It's a data class. Now, without using any self, okay, self method, I can write any kinds of variable, okay, inside this particular class, and I can access it from other file also. So that is why this data class decorator you have to use. Now here, if you see, first of all, I'm returning the artifact directory. Artifact is nothing but my artifact directory here. It is coming from here, artifact slash my timestamp. That means it will create a folder called artifact slash your timestamp. Inside that, it will create your data ingestion or feature store, everything it will create. So whenever I'll execute this particular code, that time it would be clear, like how this thing will be working. Okay. Then after that, I'm initializing this particular class and I'm just returning as a object. Now here I've written this particular data ingestion configuration, which is nothing but my config entity. And here all the things I have written, my data ingestion directory name, data ingestion feature store directory, and download URL. I'm just returning one by one. Okay, I'm just returning one by one as a path. As you can see, os.path.join, os.path.join, and I'm returning my data download URL one by one, so that I can use this particular config. Okay, I can use this particular config inside my component. So let's say I want this data download URL. Where I will call this particular config, and I'll take this particular variable, okay, from this particular configuration. That is why I've written like that. Okay, and we call it as config entity. Okay, now config entity is updated. Now I need to update something called this one, my artifact entity. Now how to update this particular artifact entity? So again, you have to open this particular file called artifact entity.py. Let's open it. Now here is the artifact entity, guys. So it is the artifact entity. So it will only return the data file path and the feature store file path. Okay, these two path actually it will return for the next component execution. Okay, so let's write it quickly. So again, you have to write a data class here. So simple data class, and you have to return these two variable one by one. See guys, I've written one data class and I'm just naming it as data ingestion artifact. And here I'm just returning my data zip file path and my feature store file path. Both I'm returning one by one. That's it. Okay. Now if I see my config is ready, constant is already, and my artifact is also ready. Now what I need to do, I need to write the component. So if I go to my readme also, here I have already written, I have to write my component. Just a minute, I need to save the code. And now if I open it up, now I think everything is fine. Now if I show you, now I need to write the component. Okay, so to write the component, go to the component folder and open this particular data ingestion.py. Let me open it up, data ingestion.py. Okay, now here you have to write some of the logic. So it will ingest the data from the GitHub. After that, it will do the unzip operation. Okay, and it will save inside this particular folder called feature store. So let's do it now. So here again, I'm going to write a modular coding. So this is the data ingestion. So first of all, I need to import some of the library. So first of all, I need something called operating system, import OS. Then I also need something called system package because I'm using the log. sorry, custom exception. That's why I need system package. Then I also need something called uh, URL lib. Okay, URL lib, because it will help you to download any kinds of file from the internet. So why it is available? It is available inside 6 module. Okay, so just write 6 dot moves. Okay, now here you can import it URL. Okay, URL lib. Okay, so this is the method I'm going to use. So URL lib, I think, yeah, it's fine. URL lib. Now I think we have already installed everything. URL lib. Let me just verify once. URL lib. Hmm. Now I also need to import zip file, because I'm going to unzip those are the file. That's why I need to import this particular zip file package, because with the help of this zip file package I can easily unzip my data. So here I can write import zip file. Then after that I also need to import the login exception. So I think you know why I created my login exception. It is available inside my logger, and here it is available inside my exception. Okay, logging and exception both I have imported. Then after that I need to import this particular config entity. That means this particular data ingestion config. So how to import it? It is inside my entity. So here I'll just write from sign language dot entity dot config entity, and here I need to import something called this particular data ingestion config. Okay, then similar wise I also need to import this artifact entity. Okay, from this particular artifact folder. So let me import. So here I can just copy paste the same code, and instead of config I'll just write artifact entity, and here is the artifact uh, data ingestion artifact. That's it. Then after that here I'm going to define one particular class. So this is the class, guys. Okay, the name of the class is data ingestion. So it will take data ingestion config for sure, because here I have already showed you your data ingestion component will take data ingestion config. Okay, you need to pass this configuration. So that is what actually I'm passing, data ingestion config. Here I have imported, and here I'm giving in this particular class. Now it will have two functionality. One is like download data from the URL. So this is the function I already prepared. So this function will download the data from this particular URL. Okay, this URL you have given. This particular URL, it will download the data. How it is downloading? With the help of this particular package called URL lib. Okay, here I'm using this particular URL lib. Okay, URL lib dot request URL retrieve. Okay, and here you need to give the dataset URL. URL I'm getting from the config. Then I'm also giving the zip file path. Okay, so here I've already defined the path. So it would be available inside my data ingestion folder, and after unzipping it, it will available inside my feature store folder. So that is what actually I'm giving. See, it's just a simple Python code. I'm just doing os.split and all, and I'm just making the directory. I'm just connecting the path. I'm just taking the file name. Okay, after that I'm joining, and I'm logging some of the information, like it has started downloading my data. After downloading, I'm logging my data has been downloaded, and this is the particular file location. That's it. And if some exception is going on, I'm just raising the exception. Okay, this is the simple code. Now it will download the data from the URL. Now what to do? I need to extract that particular zip file. For this, you have to use this particular function. You have to use this particular function called extract zip file. Now here I'm using this particular zip file package. As you can see, I'm using this particular zip file package. With the help of this particular zip file package, I'm unzipping my file. Okay, and I'm saving inside my feature store directory. Okay, this is the feature store directory. Feature store directory. Okay, feature store directory. Now, first of all, it will create the feature store directory. After that, you will save those are the data inside feature store directory, and it will return the path. And if some exception is going on, it will raise the exception as it is. Okay. Now I need to call this particular method. Okay, because see, first of all, this method will run, then this method will run. Because first of all, it has to download the data. Then after that, it will extract the data. So how to call this particular method one by one? So for this, I have written another method, and this is the final method called initiate data ingestion. See, this is initiate data ingestion. So inside this particular initiate data ingestion, I'm calling my download data. That means this particular function, and I'm calling my this one extract zip file. Here, extract zip file one by one, and it will return the artifact. As we already told you, it will return the artifact. This artifact, that means the file path and file store path. So that is what actually I'm returning as an artifact. As you can see, data ingestion artifact, and here I'm returning. After that, I'm logging the information and I'm returning the artifact. And after that, if some exception is going on, I'm just raising the exception. That's it. Okay, so once it is done, my component is ready. Now let me show you. My component is ready. Now I need to write the pipeline. So let's write the pipeline. So here I will go to the pipeline. There is a pipeline folder I created. Let me show. Yeah, this is the pipeline. Here I have something called training pipeline. Let me open it up. Now inside pipeline, you have to uh, write the flow of the execution. Okay, so let me just show you. So first of all, you have to import some of the library. So let me import one by one. So I'll import it. First of all, I'm importing sys and voice, and I'm also importing logger and exception. After that, I need to import my data ingestion component from my component folder. That means this particular file. So this particular class I need to import. So how to import? Just write from sign language dot components dot data ingestion and import, okay, your data ingestion. Okay, that means this particular class I'm importing. And from this particular class, I need to call this particular method initiate data ingestion, because initiate data ingestion will execute this particular method and this particular method both. Okay, as you can see, I have already defined. Now for this, what I need to do, I need the configuration. Okay, so let me also define the configuration. So from sign language dot entity dot config entity, and here I'm going to import my data ingestion config, this one. So let me import it, data ingestion config. Then similar wise, I will be also importing my data ingestion artifact. So from sign language dot entity dot artifact entity, import my data ingestion artifact. So both I have imported. Now I will be initializing one class. So class, here I'm going to name this particular class as train pipeline. Train pipeline. This is the class name. Inside that, I will be defining one constructor. So def underscore underscore init. Okay, underscore underscore self. And here I'm not going to return none. Okay, inside that, you have to initialize this particular configuration. Okay, so let me just write down. So self dot data ingestion config. Okay, is equal to your data ingestion config you have imported this particular object. Now after that, mm, I also need to write one method, okay, inside this particular class. So I can name it as start data ingestion. So let me show you this particular method called start data ingestion. See here, I'm not doing anything else. I'm just initializing this particular object, okay, data ingestion, because this is my component. And inside this particular component, I'm having this particular initiate data ingestion. That means if I'm calling this particular function, my data ingestion will start. That means it will download the data from the URL. After that, it will extract the zip file. So that is why I need to call this particular initiate data ingestion from my data ingestion class. So this class I have initialized here, and this is the class object, and here I'm calling this particular initiate data ingestion method. And before and after, I'm just logging the information. Okay, so let's say it is entered in my data ingestion method and training pipeline class. It is getting the data from the URL. Then once downloaded, it is exited my method. Okay, that is what actually I'm logging the information. You can give any kinds of log. I've given these kinds of log. Okay, so that actually you can also see in the log file everything. So I got one question. If I keep this like below, it's throw error, assumption error, data.yml file missing 10 test image. Okay, maybe you are missing out the path. Okay, just try to check out the path correctly. If your path is correct, definitely it will work. Okay, you can check out my code. Okay, the way actually I trained the model. Now my data ingestion is ready. Okay, this method is ready. Now I also need to call this particular method. Okay, why I will be calling? So for this, again, I can create another method here, called run pipeline. Let me show you. Here I can call it as run pipeline. Run pipeline. So inside that, I'll be calling this start data ingestion. So here, first of all, let me close with the exception. Then inside that, I'll be calling this particular data ingestion. So it will return the artifact equal to. So here is the function self dot start data ingestion. Okay, so yeah, so if you run it, so it will return the artifact. So this artifact I'm storing here so that I can give this particular artifact in my next component, which is nothing but my data validation. Yeah, now this is fine. Now let's check whether this thing is working or not. So I need to call this particular run pipeline method inside my endpoint because I completed the pipeline. Now I need to write the endpoint, so which is nothing but my app.py. Let me open up this app.py, and here I will close everything. And here, first of all, let me import my training pipeline. So from sign language dot pipeline dot training pipeline. Okay, then here I'm going to import training pipeline. So here I'm going to create an object of this training pipeline. So training pipeline, and from the training pipeline itself, I'm be calling this run pipeline. So obj dot run pipeline. Okay, so here is the method I'm calling run pipeline. So if you call this run pipeline, it will start the data ingestion. Now see, I've called it here. Now let me test it whether everything is working or not. So here what I can do, I can remove this particular log file and let's execute from scratch. So now I'm going to open up my terminal. Make sure you have activated your environment. So I already activated. Now here what I will do, I'll just write python app.py. And if I press enter, guys, you will see it will automatically download the data from this particular URL I have given. So let me execute and show you. And it will create an artifact folder. Inside that, it will create a timestamp folder. Inside that, actually, it will save your data. Now, I hope it is downloading the data. See, ingestion is done. Now, if I show you the log is generated. Now, see, it has downloading the data from this particular URL. After that, it is exited from this particular component. Now, if I open up this artifact, and inside that, you will see it has created one timestamp folder. Okay, see, this is the timestamp folder. Now, the current timestamp I executed this particular code, and here inside that it has created another file folder called data ingestion. Okay, I hope you can see that. Now, inside data ingestion, it has downloaded this particular zip file. The zip file is available inside my GitHub. See, this zip file it has downloaded this particular zip file. Then after that, it has done the unzip operation inside the feature store folder. It has created another folder called feature store. Inside that, this is my training image. This is my this is my testing image. This is the training image. Okay, and inside that I have my label and I have my images. And with respect to that, I also have my data.yaml file. Okay, if I open up this, see, this is the same thing I have uploaded in my GitHub. Okay, that means we are able to successfully ingest the data. Now let's say if you are running this particular code for the second time. Let's say if I'm running this particular code for the second time, instead of replacing that particular folder, it will create another timestamp and it will save the artifact here. Let me show you. That means it is also performing the version controlling. Okay, as you can see. So it is executing. After that, you will be able to see that. See, execution done. Now if I open the artifact, now guys, you can see it has generated another timestamp. The current timestamp we executed the code, and here is the same thing again. Similar wise for the log also. So this is the data, this is the log. Fine. So this approach you can follow to ingest the data. Now here you can connect. So if I show you here, you can connect any kinds of things. Here you can connect either S3 bucket. Only you just need to change the code here. Only you just need to change the code inside this particular component. So here I have written the function download data from the GitHub repo. Let's say here you can replace this particular function with the let's say you want to download the data from the Amazon S3, you can write the code. And from where you can refer this particular code. So I already showed you one particular community series we have took. There actually we showed you how to connect with S3 bucket and how to download the data in our local machine. Okay, so you can follow that particular code and you can use it here. Okay, now you can also use Google Drive here. Let's say this image size is huge. Let's say you have more than 1 GB or 2 GB. That time actually what to do. Now I'll tell you this part. Okay, how to handle these kinds of data as well. Okay, if you are using some free services and free tools. Okay, now before that, first of all, let's commit the changes in my GitHub. So what I will do, I don't want to push this particular artifact, that means all the images in my GitHub. So for this I will add this artifact inside my .gitignore. So I'll open up this .gitignore, and here I'm going to mention the artifact. It is artifacts, I think. Yeah, artifacts slash star. That means I want to ignore everything inside artifact. Now I think it will disappear. Yeah. Now I'm going to commit these are the file. So my data ingestion added. Now let's see the changes. It's done. Now if I go to my GitHub and refresh, here is the code, guys. It is already updated. Okay, all the flowchart is also updated. Now all the code is also updated. Now you can check it out, and here is the workflow as well. Everything is updated. Okay, now we have learned like how to ingest the data from the GitHub. Now let's change this GitHub to something else. So I'll give one task actually. I'm not going to show you the modular coding implementation for this particular like experiment. What I will do, I'll upload the data in my Google Drive. Okay, and from there actually I will show you how to ingest the data. Okay, so let me do one experiment. Okay, so I'll open up my code, and inside notebook folder, so there is a notebook folder, I think is there. Yeah, inside a notebook folder I will create another Jupyter notebook file. So let's name it as let's say test.ipynb. Okay, let's say this is the notebook I created. So make sure you have selected the proper kernel. So it's loading. Now select kernel, Python environment, and the environment actually you installed. Okay, sign lang. I'll select this particular environment, and if everything is working fine, so it should print it. So print. Okay. Now if something is required, it will automatically install. Then after that, it will show the print operation. That means everything is working fine. Now what I will do, I'll show you the Google Drive part. Now let me first of all show you the Google Drive. We are having one data here. So I think I know I think you already know that like how to upload the data in Google Drive, how to upload a file in a Google Drive. Okay, so I already made my data as a zip file and I updated there. See, so this is actually another image actually updated called CT scan image. Okay, jet CT scan image. uh, Here actually you can upload your image, which is nothing but sign language image. Okay, now uh, this is what, guys, this is the uh, Google Drive link. Now make sure this particular link should be public. Okay, this particular link should be public. So I think you know that how to give the permission. Okay, like you can give to the restricted or with some of the, let's say, selected email, or you can give this particular access to the anyone with this particular link. So make sure whenever you are uploading the data and getting this particular link, it is selecting as anyone with this particular link. Okay, after that you will get this particular URL. So you need the particular URL. With the help of that actually will be downloading this particular file. Okay, now how to do it? So for this I'll open up my this Jupyter notebook and I'll do an experiment. Okay, so let me show you the experiment. So here, what you have to do, first of all you have to use one library. So let me show you. So the library name is gdown. So first of all let me install it. So pip install gdown. So this is the library from Google. Actually they have implemented to connect with your Google Drive and all. So you can install it. So gdown. Yeah, it is installed. So after that, I have to import this particular library. So here, let me import. So import G down, import G down. Then here you have to define the URL, that derive URL, okay, where you have uploaded your data. So this is my URL, guys, in case actually you have to upload your data and get the link. So this is my URL. This is my URL. I already showed you in this particular URL. I'm having this particular file, CT scan file. Okay. Now what I need to do, guys, I will be first of all checking the type of this URL. So if I show you the type, so definitely it's a string type URL. So this is string type URL. Okay, this is a str. Now here what I need to do. Okay, here what I need to do. Here if you see in each and every, okay, in each and every link of this Google Drive, there you will have something called one unique ID. Okay, see file ID. So this is the file ID in this case. So this is the complete file ID. Okay, so here you have one URL called http double slash drive.google.com file slash d, then slash, this is the file ID. That means if you have this particular unique ID, you can locate this particular file, okay, which is present inside your Google Drive. Okay, so that is why this file ID is very much important. Now if you open up any kinds of file in Google Drive, you will see this kinds of file ID would be there. Okay, now view and sharing, so these are the thing would be additional option. Now I just need to extract this particular file ID. On top of that, I will be adding one custom URL, that means download URL, and I will download this particular file from the G drive itself automatically. How to do it? So for this, I'll be taking one variable called file ID, file underscore ID. And how to get this particular file ID? I can use this URL dot split, because this is a string, so I can easily perform split on top of it. I think you have learned this thing inside your Python. So with respect to the slash, actually I need to perform this particular split, because as you can see, everything is separated with the help of this particular slash. So if I can divide with respect to the slash, actually I'll get this particular ID. So how to do it? So see, now if I execute and show you the file ID, now see, it is giving HTTP separate, Google Drive.com separate, file separate, then D separate, and ID separate. See, this is the ID. Now the last portion is also separate. Now how to get this particular ID? Okay. Now see, if I can only access, okay, from the last second one, so this is the ID. So for this, here I can give, I want to access the second last actually item from this particular list. Okay, now if I execute, now see guys, this is the unique ID I got it. Now what I need to do, I need to add one prefix URL, that means the download URL. So this is the download URL, this is the download URL, and here you just need to give the ID. So if you give ID, so with the help of this particular URL and download, it will download that particular file, okay, from your Google Drive. So how to do it? Now here I can just write g down dot download. So first of all, here you just need to give your prefix, okay, prefix plus your file ID, because file ID should be the main thing. So prefix plus file ID. Okay, then here you just need to define the name you want to download it. So in this case, actually I can give sign data, sign underscore data, okay, dot zip file, zip file. Now if I execute this particular code, my data should be ingested. Let me check out. So let's execute and see. Okay, I'm getting one error. G down can't place the connection of the permission. Okay, it is giving permission error. To anyone handling with this link. Okay, so I think I can check it. So what I can do, just a minute. I will open up my I'll open up my Google Drive. First of all, let me just open. Now here I have already one folder called data. data. So this is the folder, guys. Here I already uploaded my data. So let me upload my signed data. This is the zip file. Now I'll copy the link address, share, copy link. Make sure you are giving the manage access to anyone with this link. Now I'll copy this particular link and I'll open up my code, and here I'm going to replace. Now let's see whether it is working or not. Yeah, now I hope it is working because I have given the permission right now. See, it is downloading. Okay. So once it is done, I'll tell you. Okay, remote disconnected. It is giving connection error. Remote disconnected without response. I'm not sure whether I'm having any connection issue or not. Just a minute. What's MLOps tool class today in the new project? Which project you are talking about? That MLOps production ready. Yeah, so there actually will be covering MLflow, DVZ. Okay, then we have also Jenkins. So these are the things we'll be covering. Okay, I'm not sure why it's giving error because I was trying, it was downloading the data from my Google Drive, but it is now getting the connection error. I think some issue is there. My code is fine. So anyone try with this code once and you can let me know whether you are able to do it or not. So what I can do, I can push these changes in my GitHub. So in your system, you can try once with your URL actually. Make sure you have uploaded your data and collected the link. Okay, and here you have just replaced the link. Then execute the code, and I think it will download that particular file. So what I'll do, I'll give test notebook added. And in between, if you are having any query, guys, you can ask me. Now, what you can do, you can clone this particular repo and you can try this code actually. I'm not sure why it is giving connection error because I already tried, it is working. Now it is giving connection error. Or else I think after some times it will work. I think some issue from the Google Drive itself. Okay. Or else I think I can use my account here. Another account, I think it will work. Okay, guys. So thank you. I think you saw that how to actually ingest the data from different platform. And if you're interested learning any other cloud platform, so you can try it actually how to ingest the data from the S3. And yeah, so this thing only. Now on next session, what I will do, I'll tell you the next stage actually to perform, like how to perform the next stage, which is nothing but my data validation. Okay, so yeah, thank you, Akash. Thank you. So we'll be learning the data validation. So let me give you one basics idea about data validation. So there actually will be performing the folder verification. So as you can see here, we are having two different folder called 10 train test, and I'm having a one file called data.yaml file. Okay, so I need to validate whether these are the things are available inside this feature store or not. Okay, so in validation, what we are gonna write. So let me just show you. So let's say whenever we are performing data validation, so I'm having something called test train and dot data.yaml. Okay, so these three folders and file I'm having currently right now. So whenever I will perform the validation, that means data validation, in the data validation I will check whether this test folder available or not. Okay, inside my ingestion, like the ingested folder, it is available or not. Then this is available or not. Okay, and this is available or not. If this is available, okay, if this is available, then my validation, okay, validation status, okay, validation status would be true. Validation status would be true. Okay, otherwise this validation status would be false. Okay, if this false, that means some files are missing here, some files are missing. Okay, if one file is missing from here, okay, if one files and folders is missing from here, that means there's some issue with the data. Okay, I can't use this particular data in my analysis. Okay, that time what I need to do, I need to raise one exception. I'll raise one exception. That means your data is not in the correct format. Data not in correct format. Okay, correct format. Okay, so this is the things actually we have to perform before starting the model training, because model training is a costly task. Okay, because it has cost involvement. And make sure before starting the model trainer, okay, before starting the model trainer here, before starting the model trainer, first of all just do the validation whether the data actually you have ingested, if it is fine or not. If it is not fine, you have to raise the exception to the user, tell them your data is not in the correct format, try to prepare the data again. Okay, then once your validation status is true, once it is true, then start the model trainer, or else you don't need to start the model trainer. Okay, you can also skip this part, but what I feel like in an end-to-end project is very much required before because I want to start the model training after validating the data. Okay, if my data set is fine, I'll do the model trainer. Otherwise I'll skip this part. Okay, then once model trainer is done, I'll get my model, then I'll push this particular model to the any other cloud platform. Here you can use S3 bucket or Google, let's say Google storage bucket. You can use anything. Got it? So once all the component is prepared, I'll be writing the prediction pipeline. Okay, and I'll deploy this particular application. So this is the complete idea. Now in the next session, so let's complete this particular validation and model trainer part. Okay, after that we'll see like how to push the model and how to create the like entire application, like user application, and how to deploy this particular application. Okay, yeah. So thank you so much guys for joining this session. I hope you like this particular series. If you have liked this, so make sure you are following our channel. So we are coming up with lots of things, so make sure you have get updated with this particular notification and everything. Okay, so with that guys, so thank you so much for joining the session. So bye everyone, take care.